Okay, now I believe the age of consent is something that everyone should know in this world. Like, no matter where you live, just make sure the person you're gonna do the devil's tango with is legal. Like, I always see these child predator videos, and honestly, it just terrifies the life out of me. Like, I remember one time in high school, I got this job at this restaurant. I'm not gonna say which, because I think they definitely do watch my videos. But basically, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. We had hot waiters. We had, you know, the boys as cooks. Like, it was like the basic generic restaurant. If you guys work in one, I'm not sure. Now, me in high school, I never really focused on girls. I was always like kind of like myself. Like, the only time I would really actually interact with people and other things and stuff was when I was on Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Anyways, I remember when I got hired, I remember like working and just, you know, doing line cook stuff because I was a line cook. And I always saw my manager staring at me in the most weirdest way possible. Like, it was sus. Now, at first, you know, I thought she was just evaluating me, grading me, and seeing like, you know, how I do things. Am I a good cook? You know, all that basic things that managers should do. But I don't know. It just kept going on for weeks on end, to the point where I guess it went intense. Basically, I remember her coming up to me when I was in the middle of a cook thing. I don't know, I was cooking something, and she said, "Hey, can I talk to you in the back room for a minute?" Now, the funny thing is that she did have an office, but I guess we ended up going to the back room of all things. And she instantly said to me, "Hey, so I'm gonna need your number for work purposes." Now, at first I was like, wait a minute, you're my manager. Shouldn't you already have this? Like, it's on the paper with my resume. But it ended up being that she just wanted my number. So I just put it in there because she said it's work purposes, and I don't want to really argue with my own manager. I gave her my number, you know, bippity boppity boo. Things were good. I went back to cooking and stuff. And then I remember going home that night. In my head, I was just thinking, what the heck's going on? I remember the next day I was playing Minecraft on my PC, and I was just, you know, doing some average parkour like you guys are watching right now. And then I remember literally getting an ad on Snapchat from someone that had the same name as my manager. Now, at first I definitely didn't think it was my manager. I thought it was just some hot chick wanting to hit me up, because I'm not gonna lie, I didn't look ugly at the time. I was, you know, I looked good. But then I ended up like, you know, adding her back, and I snapped her hey, and then she instantly snapped me back, and I realized it was my manager. My own manager from the restaurant I worked at was snapping me. So I just said like, what's up? Because I don't know, I was trying to make it like normal, I guess, in a way, somehow. And I remember her snapping me saying, "Are you busy today?" Now, instantly I thought she was gonna make me go work. So I instantly made up some like random excuse that people usually do when they want to get off work. And I was like, "Oh yeah, like I'm busy, like I can't, I got a lot of things to do, family stuff." And then the next snap she sent me is the most insane thing ever. Literally, it was her and her mommy milkers just chilling in front of her mirror in the bathroom saying, "Damn, I wish you could come over." Instantly at that moment, I realized, holy cow, my manager has the hots for me. And I'm not gonna lie, for her being 24 and me being 17, don't get me wrong, I definitely knew this was like dangerous, but she was hot. So I remember going down there and actually going to see her. I literally remember me like actually getting in my car being like, you know, "I'm gonna do it," and like playing like music from Lucifer. If you guys don't know that show, it's a really funny show. And I just went down there and instantly just got to her doorstep. When I got to her doorstep, she lived in a pretty nice place. She actually lived in this really nice like brand new apartment building. Like, it was fancy. And I remember when I knocked on the door, she instantly answered, and she grabbed me by the wrist and said, "Hey, come on in." She grabbed me by the wrist and literally dragged me to her couch, which is, I guess, sketchy in a way, because, you know, dragging a minor isn't really a safe, you know what, never mind. Either way, one thing led to another. We were talking crap about coworkers, you know, the basic work stuff, even though this was my manager. And then I remember her leaning into me, and it just went to that point where we just ended up doing the devil's tango. So that went on for like an hour and a half, not even, I want to say even more than that, because at that point, like, time and space wasn't a thing, because damn, she was good. And then after all that, I remember we were just laying down on her bed, you know, doing the basic pillow talk that most couples do, but we weren't a couple. She was my manager. And instantly right away, she turned her head towards me, and she's like, "So what are you studying in college?" I remember looking up in the air, and I was like looking at her roof, and I'm thinking, wait, college? And then I looked over at her, and I'm like, "I'm in high school." She literally, I'm not even joking, guys, she jumped out of her bed butt naked, and she instantly looked at me and said, "Wait, are you serious?" Obviously I said yeah, because, you know, I'm not gonna lie to my own manager. I don't know, I don't really know if I should counter a manager at this point. This was really awkward. And then I remember she was putting on her clothes, and she's like, "None of this can go out, like we can't talk about this." Like, she was just telling me like all the basic things that I did wrong, when in reality she's the one who invited me, and she's my manager. She should already know how old I am. Like, hello. But yeah, instantly she told me to like leave. And I remember I went home that day. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty happy that I ended up doing the devil's tango. But then I want to say like after like 2 weeks later, I ended up actually getting fired from my job because of how awkward it was just working there. And it got to the point where I wasn't even comfortable working there, and then bippity boppity boo, I just ended up getting fired. And yeah, at the end of the day, I think one thing you should definitely realize from the storyline is that don't poop where you eat. Just don't. It's not safe. Just don't do it. Okay, so I think I've done like a manager story before about where I literally did the devil's tango with my manager, and you guys absolutely destroyed it. And I think it was one of the very first story times I ever told on this channel. But little do you guys know, there has been another occasion. Actually, to be honest, there's only 3 occasions, but this is the second one. If you guys do want to hear the other one, I guess you guys have to click that like button and subscribe. And also, if you guys want to, make sure you guys follow the Twitch and come to the Discord server to actually come talk to us and hang out. It'll be awesome to talk to you guys. And also, maybe I can give you guys some insights on all the devil's tango I've been doing recently. Now, let's get straight into this. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another crazy story. So this story actually takes place back when I worked at a grocery store. Yes, I said it, a literal grocery store. Now, obviously, this was kind of like back in high school. So, you know, at this time and age, like either I was working at a restaurant, but this was the first time I actually wanted to go into like a retail kind of thing. But to be honest, any actual like clothing store I've been to, they all said no to me basically because I didn't have the resume, since all my resumes were basically me being in the kitchen. But honestly, I just decided to go to a grocery store because my mom thought it'd be a cool idea to like get more experience in a way, even though I just ended up being a YouTuber at the end of it. But you know, win-win scenario. But anyways, I remember I worked at this basic grocery store that, you know, had a lot of young people working there. And honestly, like by young, I mean basically like a lot of people my age. And when you guys get a job, you guys will automatically notice this, but every workplace you guys actually like go into, or you start working a new job, you guys will realize who's friends with who to stay away from, who to take orders from. It's kind of like high school, but like in a more financial way. And I say financial way because you're making money. Unlike school, you're getting a piece of paper. But anyways, going on with the story, I remember there was a certain day, it was on a Friday night, and I remember I was stocking shelves in the morning. I took a morning shift that time because for some reason the manager wanted to talk to me like later on throughout the day, and I just didn't know why. But anyways, I was working and I was putting stuff away, and I remember I was going down the candy aisle and I was putting candy away because that's where the candy went, obviously. But as I was putting candy away, I remember one of the little Asian girls that worked at like the grocery store walked up to me, and everyone liked this little Asian girl for some reason. Like she was really nice, she was really kind, and she was a genuine person. But at the same time, she was like a goody two shoes, but like not everyone was a fan of her because apparently she was a snake. I don't know. To be honest, I didn't care enough. Like I said, I was putting candy away, and when she walked up to me, she said, "So apparently word around is that you're getting a promotion soon." I remember looking at her and I'm like, I've only been here for 2 months. How am I getting a promotion? And then she said, well, apparently one of the managers is really like enjoying how you do work and really likes you, and I think she wants to promote you. And when she said I realized what manager it was. Apparently there was a girl night manager who was like really, how do I put this? Basically one of those people that act like they're still in high school, even though they're fully graduated, but still can't get out of that high school mindset. And obviously for me, I didn't care enough, to be honest, because let's be real here, when I go to work or when I do any sort of work in general, I kind of just put my head down and just focus on it. But when she told me it was like a promotional kind of thing, I kind of got excited. I'm not gonna lie, because obviously promotion equals more money equals my pocket, and more money equals video games, and video games is where I like. So obviously then I asked her, oh, like did like something happen? Like did I do something right? Like I don't know, like what do you mean by that? Because obviously I didn't understand what was going on at the moment when she was telling me I was gonna get a promotion. But then she said, I don't know, just go to her office and see what she wants. So obviously I finished putting the candy away and I went up to the office where she was basically sitting at all day. Because I'm not gonna lie, the managers of the grocery store, they either go out, count like what's in stock, and then they just go back upstairs and sit for like hours just talking about how sad their life is because they work at a grocery store. But as I headed up the elevator and I walked into the office she was in, I remember she had like 2 other people in there. And when she saw me, I'm not joking when I say this, she smiled like I've never seen before. So either this was gonna be a really good promotion, or I was about to, you know, do the devil's tango. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Not yet, anyway. But going on, I remember she ended up clearing out the room. And when she cleared out the room, she closed the door and said, all right, Bubba, so I actually need to talk to you about something very special you can do for this company. And when she said that, I kind of got like this vibe that I was going to become a manager for some reason. But then she ended up saying, you're going to be working the graveyard shift. Wait, what? Yeah, she wanted me literally work the graveyard shift. Reminder, I was in high school at the time. So this is really, really off-putting because obviously that ruins the sleep schedule. And also, get your good night's sleep because seriously, you could die from not sleeping. Unless you're grinding on YouTube, then don't sleep. Keep the grind up. But anyways, like I was saying though, so basically, when she told me she wanted me to work the graveyard shift, I kind of had to worry because I told her like, oh, like I'm in school. I don't know if I can do it. Like, you know, like I don't know if it's a good idea. But then she went on to say, oh, you'll be making $2 more than your normal wage. And when she said $2 more, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of happy about it. Like, let's be real here, guys. Making money nowadays is absolutely just a pain in the butt. So obviously, I'm gonna take it. Even though I gotta sacrifice, like, let's see, 8 hours of sleep. I don't think it's a total loss for $2 extra every hour. Like, it's not bad. But then I ended up, you know, signing the piece of paper saying I'll do the graveyard shift, and she gave me the weekends to do the graveyard shift, so my sleep schedule in school wouldn't be so messed up. But once I signed the paper, I remember she put her phone on the table, and it was on Snapchat, and she told me, hey, like, I'm gonna like need your Snapchat to like give you your schedule, by the way. I'll just send it to you once I get it set up. So you're not gonna email me it, is what I asked her afterwards. But she said, no, like, we prefer to like be direct contact with just, you know, Snapchat or like Instagram. I just think it's a lot more like convenient, and also like knowing like, you know, we're like teenagers. She was 27. Knowing like teenagers, I think it would just work out. Okay, yeah, well, sure, whatever. So I remember I ended up giving her my Snapchat, funny enough. I remember going back down, and I was gonna like, you know, clock out for my shift, and when I did, the Asian girl walked back up to me. She said, hey, did you know like the manager like is actually like very interested in you for some reason? And I'm like, oh yeah, like you're right, like she gave me a promotion. But then she told me, no, like she's actually like really interested in you. This is where I started to worry. If you guys didn't see the first story time of me doing my manager, obviously you guys would understand, like, you know, I've been down this path, except last time was in a restaurant, this time it's in a grocery store. But like I was saying though, like it was kind of just like winging it. But anyways, I kind of just chose to ignore it, and I went home. When I went home, she ended up sending me a schedule. I worked at a Saturday night, and I went to work that night. When I got there, it was super dark out, and when I entered the store, nobody was there. Like, it was scary how quiet a grocery store can be when there's nobody there. Like, not even music is playing. Like, it's silent, dead silent. But at the same time, the lights were still on. It was actually pretty cool. And when I walked through the door and, you know, I went upstairs and stuff, and I went to go put my bag away, I saw the manager. When she saw me, she walked up to me and said, are you ready for your first shift? Obviously, I said, yeah, because hell, what else am I going to do at like 12 at night in a grocery store? So she gave me the basic rundown of what to do, what things to put away. And I'm going to be honest, I kind of liked it. She let me put on my headphones, listen to some Juice WRLD, and I basically just jammed out and put stuff away. And honestly, it goes bumping hard when you're listening to Lucid Dreams, putting stuff away 12 at night at a grocery store. I don't know. It's just a different vibe. Trust me, if you guys ever do it, comment under this video and tell me how you liked it. Like, honestly, like, I don't know. It was just a vibe. Anyways, as I was putting things away, I remember the night manager ended up like coming up beside me, and she was also putting things away with me. But then she was talking to me as I was like listening to Juice WRLD, and I didn't realize it till like halfway through her sentence. So I remember I took out my headphones and I was like, oh, like, what's up? She said, did you not just hear like what I just said? And I said, no, like, I didn't hear you. Sorry. Like, I was listening to Juice WRLD. And then she told me, oh, like, I like Juice WRLD too. Like, he's actually so awesome. Rip Juice, by the way. I forgot to mention that in this video. But going on, she ended up saying, oh, well, while you weren't listening, I guess I was just complimenting you and how cute you looked. Bruh, you're telling me my manager called me cute 12 at night when I'm looking busted as hell, and she thinks me in sweatpants is cute? Like, don't get me wrong, they come off easy, but like, okay, anyways. So we ended up just talking about basic outfits, and we're just talking about, you know, school. At least I was talking about school. She was talking about how she still lives with her mom, and so on and so forth. And then what ended up happening afterwards was pretty awkward. And I say pretty twice because it was awkward. As we were putting things away, she kind of like started like going out of things in my cart, and she put her hand in my cart when I put my hand in there, and we kind of like touched hands. Now, usually that wouldn't be a big deal, but then she like went from touching my hand to like going up my arm and grabbing my shoulder, and then she ended up making out with me in the middle of the grocery store. When she did that, I remember she literally looked at me and she's like, come with me. She grabbed me by my hand. We went to the elevator, and when we got into the elevator, she like pressed a button as the door closed that made the whole elevator just stop. And then I'm not gonna lie to you guys, that's when we ended up doing the devil's tango. So that went on for, I want to say, like 2 hours of our night. And I remember the phone rang. It was like 2 a.m. The phone rang for some reason. It was one of the delivery guys that delivered things at night, apparently. And she like basically got her clothes on, and she was like saying like, oh, like, we're on the way right now. And we went down, and I'm not gonna lie, her hair was all messed up. My hair was all messed up. Like, we were going at it in the elevator for like I said, 2 hours almost. So it was pretty busted. And then afterwards, I remember she looked at me and she just kept winking at me as like we were getting the order in. And then I remember how weird I felt, but honestly, like, it wasn't that bad. And let's just say, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I ended up quitting, I want to say, a month after, because, you know, even though she was way older than me, I'm not gonna lie, she was too much to handle sometimes. And sometimes you need to draw your boundaries. I remember it was just me and her at the office, and I remember she walked up to me and said, Baba, do you need help with that paperwork? As she slowly grabs my thigh, I knew it was time. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to a super embarrassing, but I gotta say, really weird story. So this story all takes place right after high school, and this was my grade 12 year. Now in grade 12, I remember one thing I really wanted to do was work in a normal space, meaning that I didn't want to do like, you know, any any restaurant work or any other sort of work, but I kind of wanted to have a work where I would just have to sit down and just kind of just work on a computer, kind of like what I do now as a YouTuber. But obviously it wasn't easy to come by. I remember I ended up getting some cell phone service job where basically I would sit down and do customer support at this office area. That was a really cool place. I'm not going to say which company it was because I do not want to get in serious legal trouble with them, but you guys can comment down below and take a wild guess of which one. Going on from there, I remember basically when I went to apply there, it was a pretty good workspace. I remember it was basically everything I wanted, where it was just little cubicles, everyone working in offices, and just being on the phone 80% of the time. And me, I remember when I walked in there, I instantly got an interview because they were instantly hiring people since it was such a big company. And I sat down with this woman. Now this woman, she was like not actually the manager of the place, but she was like someone that did the interviews. And I remember when I sat down with her in a really nice suit, she looked at me and said, "Oh, so you just graduated high school, I see on your resume." Yeah, you know, I'm just trying to, you know, get a cool job, I guess. And I always wanted to kind of work in an office. "Oh, okay, that's good. Wow, you have a really good voice, by the way." Thank you. Instantly at that moment, when she flirted with me saying that I had a really nice voice, I found this very odd, but at the same time, I guess many people find my voice, well, I guess better than most, which is pretty amazing. And thank you for everyone that likes my voice. But going on with the story, I remember the interview went on, but every time she saw something on my resume, she planned to compliment me about it. Like, for example, she saw that I worked at a restaurant and she said, "Oh, so you must have like really good hands, don't you, to cook some food?" Honestly, it was super awkward and I didn't know what to say nor what to do. I kind of just nodded my head and agreed. And I remember after the interview was over, I ended up basically standing up and walking away down this hallway that led to the exit. And as I was walking to the exit, out of nowhere, this girl runs to me and sprints over to me saying, "Oh, Bubba, I just want to say you did get hired. Are you cool to start Monday?" I remember I looked at her and smiled and I'm like, "Yeah, I can work Monday." "Okay, cool. Here's my number and yeah, good luck." And at that point, I knew I got the job. Now, number one piece of advice I'm going to give you guys, don't poop where you eat. Meaning that if you guys work at a workplace, don't go for a girl or a guy that works with you. Because, well, at that point, if something happens, like for example, you guys break up or things get really awkward, you're gonna have to see it every day at work. And well, me, that kind of became the case. But before that happens, I remember on Monday when I went for my first day of work, I went in there and I sat down and I basically, you know, wore a nice suit and I basically like started working on this computer. And as I was sitting there, I remember I didn't really know how to use the computer or actually start work because it was my first day. So I'm just sitting at this computer desk, totally confused on what in the world am I supposed to do. I started looking around really cutely and I kind of just started wondering, how do I start this? And out of nowhere, there was a guy that saw me and he was like sitting across from me and he looked at me and said, "Yo, bro, is this your first day at the job?" Yeah. How do you know?" "Nothing. It's just very noticeable when someone starts their first day. Here, you might need help. Just call your manager up." I never actually met my manager yet." "Oh, you didn't? Well, just call up the person that interviewed you." So at that moment, I remember I ended up grabbing my phone and I called the girl that hired me in the first. And when she answered the phone, instantly she said, "Oh, I was wondering when you were gonna call me for the job." Yeah, for the job, silly. Are you at the office already?" Yeah, I'm just waiting right now. I don't really know what to do. Can you help me out?" "I'll be there in 2 minutes. I'm just in my office." 2 minutes go by and she shows up and instantly at that moment, she starts like, you know, basically showing me what to do at the office and how I'm supposed to answer calls and all this stuff that cell phone places usually do. And I remember the whole time when she was showing me how to do things, she would kind of like get really close to me to the point where she would kind of like grab my arm and in a way also like, I don't know, just kind of get too touchy with me as we were just both sitting in this office space. I found this really weird and I kind of got really weirded out and I'm like, "Yo, is everything okay? Like, are you good?" Yeah, I'm good. Are you good? Do you understand everything?" No, yeah, I do understand everything. I'm just, you know, curious." Okay, cool. I'm just gonna start work then." She got up and left afterwards and that's when I started working. Now, one thing I'm gonna say to you guys is that I'm a workaholic, meaning that I like to work. And me, I would work so much to the point where I'm not joking, I would always do more than I usually should have. Actually, the first week of me working there, I think I was basically helping more customers and doing way more than anyone else at the office. And a lot of people started recognizing that. Obviously, people started not liking me because of this, but at the same time though, it led to one girl specifically that liked me a lot and always came up to me during the week. And that was the girl that hired me. She always walked up to me, got really close to me, and she always kept flirting with me. And it got to a point where one day she actually ended up putting her finger on my lips and shushing me because apparently I was talking to too many customers. I have really no idea. It was super awkward how she would do this. And a lot of people in the office started noticing this as well. And it got to a point where I remember one time the guy that was sitting across from me looks at me and says, "You're a interviewer, the person that hired you. She's really into you, eh?" Yeah, I guess she likes me, I guess. I don't know. I guess I'm a good worker. Nah, dude, everyone was once a good worker, but for you, she gets really close to you. Something tells me she likes you a lot. Okay, cool. At this moment, I kind of understood what he was saying, but at the same time, once again, I had a golden rule where I would not poop where I eat. So I kind of like kept my distance until Friday came along. I remember it was the day Friday, and it was a Friday night, and basically I was working the late shift, and I was working such a late shift to the point where, I'm not gonna lie, I actually ended up staying in the office longer than like most people. It got to the point where actually everyone went home before me, and it was super late, and I thought I got to a point where I was alone at the office because I heard no noises when I was done talking to customers. And as I'm just sitting there really weirdly, just kind of like figuring out what I should do, and you know, if I should keep working or call it a day, out of nowhere I ended up hearing someone say, "Bubba, you're still here?" Yeah, I was just, you know, finishing up some work, I guess. Why are you here? Oh, I always do the late shift, silly. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, she was definitely lying when she said that, because I've never seen her work a late night shift in my life. But then afterwards I say, "Oh, okay, well, cool. It's good to know I'm not alone." "Yeah, no, I agree. It's good that you're here." Okay, cool. At this moment, I didn't really know what to say because once again, it was a really awkward moment for me. But then she ends up getting up and leaving. And I remember I was actually just gonna get ready to go home. So I remember I started kind of packing my bag that I had, and I put my like previous lunch that I had earlier in there, and I started like putting everything away. And then that's when it happened. She ends up walking down to my office, and she ends up looking at me saying, "Bubba, I need to tell you something." And then afterwards, she ended up putting her hand on my thigh and sitting on my lap and started making out with me. My mind was blown when she did this, and I was like, what is going on? And out of nowhere, I am not joking, we ended up basically clearing everything off the desk except the computer monitor, obviously, and me and her, we ended up doing the devil's tango at the office. I am not joking. It was so crazy. It was like a movie. It was literally like a movie scene. Like, I was so in shock, and I remember I looked at her and said, are you sure we should be doing this right now? Just don't worry about it, silly." And we keep going. This happens for like, I want to say like the next hour and a half. And reminder, I didn't even get to clock out yet. So these hours that I was doing the devil's tango, I was basically getting paid for, which is insane to me, because I remember as me and her were still doing it, out of nowhere, we ended up finding a late night janitor walking around the corner, and he saw us both and said, "Hey, what are you guys doing over there?" I remember me and her, we instantly just like got off each other, and we started putting on our clothes as fast as we could. And I looked at the janitor saying, "Oh, nothing, just late night stuff." "Okay, well, you and your work wife gotta go home. It's too late for you guys to be here still." Okay, yeah, no, we're heading home right now," is what I said afterwards. I was so embarrassed, and I remember as I was walking to my car, the janitor kept watching us to make sure we actually went home. But as I was about to start my car, out of nowhere, I see the girl that did the devil's tango with me at the office looked at me and said, "Bubba, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if it's gonna be easy for us to work here after that." "Well, I don't know, just pretend that never happened, I guess." And that's when I drove off. And what happened the next day, I gotta say, really ruined everything for me, because I remember the next day I went to work and everyone was there. It was a full shift, but everyone was whispering and everything. And every time I saw this girl that, you know, I did the devil's tango with yesterday come around me, she would look at me and start like biting her lips in a really weird way. And at that point, I'm not gonna lie to you, everyone in the office knew what happened, but I didn't know how they knew until out of nowhere, the actual manager that I actually never got to meet ends up walking up to me, and he says, "Hey, Bubba, can I speak to you for a second in my office?" Yeah, sure." Me and him, we end up going to his office, and when we sat down together, he says, "So we caught this on security tapes last night. I don't know what to say or what to explain to you, but I'm sorry, we're gonna have to let you go." Yeah, I got fired. After that moment, I got really upset, but I will say, if you guys want this happen to you, then just follow for more embarrassing stories. Peace out, guys.